Okay, here we are in Assetto Corsa yet again. This time we're looking at Sergio Loro's 60s Rouen. This is a French track that I guess originated in 1950 and it operated all the way until 1994 actually. So the track changed, evolved over time. So this is definitely a variation of a track that has a long history. What we're driving tonight is kind of interesting. This is a BMW 2002, and this is a early 70s variant of this car. And I always wanted one of these. I know that that's a shameful thing to admit, but I think that this is probably one of the coolest touring cars that was ever made. So I thought I'd give it a run. So this would be technically classed as a Group 5 car in the touring car, when Group 5 meant touring cars, which was in the 60s. This car didn't exist in the 60s. So I'm kind of mixing bags here. 60s era track, a car that would have been classed in a 60s era Group 5 class, but was actually technically a little bit later. So bear with the inconsistency on that. This is a weird little car. It's turbocharged. I believe that this is the first turbo that I've driven on stream for the channel. I'm usually a natural aspirated kind of guy, but this is such a fun little motor. It's all wind, man. It's crazy. And this track is pretty phenomenal. It's almost 4 miles. And really pretty. A lot of interesting cars. I was looking at Group 5 cars, and it's an FIA class that changed significantly over the years. So in the 50s and 60s, it was a touring car class. Then in the 70s, it became the cars that were over 5 liters. So the 917 competed as a Group 5 car. And so interesting class of cars that changed from a kind of touring car to a sports car meta class that was pretty insane. This car competed with a lot of really interesting touring car class cars. And just always, the guys that had these cars were kind of aloof, weird guys and seemed mysterious. Seemed to really love their cars. They weren't like muscle cars by any stretch, but they, handled well and they were fast and I don't know. Just always wanted one. Never satisfied that particular itch. I can't complain. I've had some cool cars. I have some cool cars. So not having had this car doesn't matter all that much in the general scheme of things, I guess. But it is one of those that, you know, one of those the heart wants what the heart wants sort of cars. This track certainly saw a lot of interesting history and different cars racing on it. Of course, in the late 60s, there was a tragic accident that really diminished the appetite for really high-speed cars on the track. And so it was relegated to F2, F3 class races for the most part. Not that that's a bad thing. I mean, those are fun cars. Hitting the limiter on this. Beautiful track. Again, Sergio Loro does not disappoint. He builds some really amazing tracks that are as much fun to look at as they are to drive, which I think is says a lot. It's a fun track to drive. For its era as a course that was constructed of real roads, it was very, very well constructed, wide track, modern pits. And that's why it survived as long as it did. Coming out of the 50s and going to 94, that's quite a legacy, quite a history of racing. I'm not exactly sure why the track ultimately closed. I assume, like most things, noise, safety, modernization, money. Money kills a lot of really good things. Or lack of it. So, that's Rouen. It's a fun track. Fun to drive. Relatively simple in its layout, but that's okay. Sometimes simple is fun to drive. And as we said before, drivable is fun, and fun is oftentimes raceable. And that's what we really want in tracks, right? But I mean, this is a gorgeous track. It's just beautiful to look at. It really is. And that's also fun, too, from a content perspective. Nobody wants to look at an ugly track. Maybe when I drive a track that, you know, maybe doesn't look all that good, but just feels really good to drive. But content, you want to look at something that's pretty, right? Maybe I'm underestimating my audience. Maybe you're not that shallow. Beauty is in the eye of the driver, right? This car is just freaking awesome. I love this car. Not the fastest thing I've ever driven, but it's definitely fun. This would be a fun car to race. Very much fun to race. Very much fun. What do you think? Think this is raceable? You like this car? Any of you guys own one of these? Tell me about it. Love to hear your stories. Like I said, the guys that I knew that owned these were always kind of like stand away from the crowd kind of guys, aloof and interesting, and also very passionate about their cars. So gotta respect that. There's something to be said when a car draws a lot of the same type of people, and kind of admire that in car owners. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I hope this is fun for you, and I definitely had a good time, and I will see you in the next one. Bye now.
Spaß mache Rennsport.